Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Todd's podcast. We have an incredible guest today. It's Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, also known as America's Sheriff. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time with his background or his resume. You can listen to episode 1 or 2 of Todd's podcast for that. You all have heard of him, but I will tell you that we talked about some pretty heady and timely issues today. We're going to discuss ICE, immigration, and the sheriff's role in that equation. We're going to talk about open carry versus concealed carry, some suggestions on fixing downtown Orlando, the crime issue, of course. Also, he even talks about Christmas cards, one of his favorite things. So it's a very entertaining and informative episode today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the hour with Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd on Todd's podcast. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Todd's podcast. We have one of our all-time favorite guests today. You know him, you love him, unless you're a lawbreaker, Sheriff Grady Judd. And he's going to give us some time today and talk about what's going on in Polk County and Florida and the world a little bit and entertain us with some stories. But we're going to talk about some serious stuff today, too. So I appreciate you coming on, Sheriff, and appreciate you all you do for us.
Todd, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. I enjoyed the years that you were a county commissioner. We made a lot of good things happen together, and now you're off in the private venture world and doing very good, but it's good to be back with you.
It's good to be out of office, too, I can assure you.
It's living in a fishbowl when you're in office.
Yeah, and your fishbowl is bigger than all the rest of us. If we could just kind of jump right in with one of the hot buttons that's going on now is ICE and immigration enforcement. And, you know, what you see is the role of local law enforcement and how local law enforcement interacts with ICE. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I'd love for you to help clear up some of these things.
Sure. Let me try to cut through the politics.
Yes, please.
And there is some politics to it, but to tell you, you know, the bottom line, or as we say, the rest of the story. If you come into this country illegally, it's against the law.
Right.
It's against federal law. For years, for decades, the federal government and Congress has not appropriately dealt with the issue. So it got a little worse and a little worse and a little worse. And then 4 years ago, during the Biden administration, they threw the southern border doors open, and people flooded in by the tens of thousands.
Right.
Now, you can, depending on the numbers you want to believe, 10 million, 11 million, 20 million. But let's take the low number. There are 10 million people in this country illegally. Some of them, when they came across the border illegally, checked in. And when they checked in, and I'm quoting from a lady that we arrested that told us how this went. She said, I found a human trafficker because I wanted to come to the United States. And he said, well, you can work in the United States and pay the fee for coming in. So he brought me up to the border, and she said there was no sneaking in. There was no obstruction. You just walk straight across the border and walk to the immigration or customs employees, not run from them. They took me into a building. I had my daughter with me. They did a quick DNA check to make sure that my daughter was biologically really my daughter and that I wasn't smuggling a child in.
Right.
So that occurred. She said, then they set me down and I filled out some paper and they said, where do you want to go? And I said, to Miami. And they filled out the paperwork. They gave me a court appearance day for coming into the country illegally 4 years from now.
Where was the court supposed to be?
Well, that's why they asked her, where do you want to go in the United States? So they assigned her to the Miami court.
Okay.
Then they gave her a free ticket for her and her daughter to fly to Miami. And they said, but before you go, let's sign your daughter up for free Medicaid. So they did that. And then before you go, we're going to sign you up for your EBT card so you can get your free food. So I want to focus on this. She came across illegally with a human trafficker. She was given free food into the future. She was given free medical care for her daughter, and she was given a free ride on an airplane to Miami. When she got to Miami, she met the human trafficker's partner. Now she's thinking, I'm going to have to work in a motel, cleaning rooms. I'm going to have to work in a restaurant.
Right.
That's when they told her that, no, you're going to have to prostitute yourself. So these
Once she was in the United States.
Once she was in the United States. Once she was here. And of course, that's how we found her and arrested her. And ultimately, she is to be deported back. So while a lot of people are coming here trying to do better for themselves, they're coming here illegally. And then they're being taken advantage of by human traffickers. And at the same time, the cartel, which controls the border flow, pushes a lot of people into this country over in one area to tie up the resources. Then they move their fentanyl, their methamphetamine, and others that are human trafficking victims in a different area. So this occurred overwhelmingly. Well, of course, administrations changed. President Trump got elected primarily to deal with this issue. And it's not just people that want to come here and work and better their family. We've got criminals that have come across unobstructed. We've got people that are terrorists that have come across unobstructed. And I suggest to you, we still haven't had the other foot fall on who all came here to commit criminal conduct or terroristic conduct that we don't even know about yet. So the president gets elected. One of his primary issues is immigration. So he issues the edict that now, from the worst first, has to leave the country. And in addition to that, anyone, and there's about 1.5 million that already have orders of deportation because they came across illegally and refused to do what they were told to do. So they missed their court dates, or they showed up and were ordered out of the country and they didn't leave. So we've got 1.5 million orders of deportation already in place, plus our criminals. We're starting with the worst first. Now, in anticipation of the president who was elected, Governor DeSantis called for a special session. And in this special session, he wanted, among other things, state money, $250 million, to assist local law enforcement in assisting ICE. He also wanted to, in this state legislation, mandate that all local government, all county government, all state government assist in the ICE in the deportation of those that were in the state illegally. That legislation passed.
So that's the law of the land.
That's the law of the land. So even in the past, when the cities and the counties were able to tell folks, look, being in the country illegally is a federal violation, and that's up to ICE. Now between the president and the governor and the legislature, they have made it every law enforcement officer's responsibility, every city commissioner and county commissioner's responsibility to assist ICE. In that process, at the state level, the legislature created a immigration enforcement board. That immigration enforcement board is made up of the governor and the cabinet. The immigration enforcement board can hire an executive director and assistants to carry out the duties and responsibilities of how to manage the grant and the policies and the practices. In addition, they created an Immigration Enforcement Council, and that's made up of 4 sheriffs and 4 chiefs. And one of the 4 sheriffs has to be the chairman of the council. Well, we, the other 3 sheriffs, recommended Sheriff Gualtieri be the chairman of the council because he's really a savant on the federal rules and laws dealing with immigration. Well, the governor decided that Grady Judd should be the chairman of the council. And of course, the Immigration Enforcement Board unanimously voted, which they have to unanimously agree on all the rules, for me to be the chair.
Okay.
So it's our job to be the research arm, if you will, for the board and make resolutions or recommendations to the board. And we've done that. And basically what we've dealt with is the infrastructure and the rules of how we forward the grant money for strictly to the local law enforcement agencies that are helping ICE according to not only federal law but state law. In the meantime, now we have to train law enforcement officers of how to do this. And we have to report. There has to be a reporting mechanism. And the council created that mechanism that the board passed, and FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, has to maintain the data. So what we wrote in the rules, and this is important to understand, is that we deal with immigration issues and those here illegally during our normal course of business. So we're not going, and my normal course of business is not to go to farm fields and raid them, not to go to construction sites and raid them, not to go to businesses and raid them. That's not our normal course of business. But our normal course of business says anytime we encounter people while doing our job, if they're here illegally, then we take them into custody, determine their status, and we've been trained to do that, and then we turn them over to ICE. And that's where we are. So if you're driving without a license and we stop you and you're in the country illegally, you're going to not only be charged with driving without a license, driving without insurance, but you're also going to be charged with being in the country illegally and subsequently turned over to ICE. In addition to that, our normal policy is that we do warrants checks for everybody in the car. So if we determine, we call them collaterals, we arrest the person that's driving without a license, and they happen to be illegal, then they get taken into custody, booked into the jail on their criminal charge, and notify ICE. We've notified ICE of these types of cases all the way back to the Obama administration. This is nothing new, nothing different. The only thing different is now the federal government and the state government has given us more tools and a stronger mandate to assist in the removal of those that are in the country illegally. So if you happen to be a collateral, you're riding with a guy that's here illegally, and you're illegal, then you're going to get scooped up in the process as well. So now, for those of you who go, you're just about to drive me crazy with the details, I have really not given you the Reader's Digest version. I have given you the short version of a very complicated process, because all people in this country illegally aren't the same. It depends what country you came from, when you came from. For example, Cuba's got wet foot, dry foot. Were you here before 87? Did you come after 87? Were you born before? It is
and
a
you've
very
had to train all your deputies on all these.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
We have trained 250, what you call them, DIOs. So when a deputy who's not trained, there always has to be several DIOs working that can come over and pick up the investigation and know how to interact and contact ICE. But we've had to push back and forth all the way up through Kristi Noem and the President of the United States. When all of this started and they put this pressure on us to do this, we determined, they said, oh, we got 1.5 illegal immigrants that already have a warrant for their deportation. The feds, they've already been through the system. And I said, well, where are they? ICE had them in their computer system, but they weren't in the National Crime Information Center. So we had no way of knowing that.
Right.
And when I asked them, as the chair of the Immigration Council, to put them in there, they ignored me in the beginning until I got on social media and in front of the media. Now, we'll talk about it later probably. I do between 15 and 20 million views a week. When I started talking about how can we help them if they won't even put the records
Correct.
in the National Crime Information Center, well, they did that. So here we are. So my best advice is, if you're in this country illegally, you are eventually going to get removed when we get to you. There's 10 million, 11 million, 20 million, however many. I suggest that you go back to your country on your own. You voluntarily deport. The federal government's given $1,000. And you can apply and be first in line to come back legally.
Okay, so you can move to the front of the line if you self-deport.
That's what the federal government tells us.
Okay.
If you don't, then at some point in time, we're going to stumble across you. You're going to be taken into custody. You're going to go to a county lockup. From a county lockup that only keeps you 48 hours, you're going to go to another lockup, either another county jail that has a contract to hold up to 72 hours. And then from there, you're going to end up going to another lockup, and eventually they're going to deport you. So rather than be hassled, I'm telling folks, look, if you're here illegally, the bottom line is you're here illegally.
Right.
That's the risk you took when you came here. Do yourself a favor. Rather than let the government remove you, remove yourself. If you want to come back, then the government's looking at that in good favor, and they'll allow you to fill out the paperwork and come back. But that's their personal decision.
Right.
And I'm sharing with people that Congress needs to act. And I can wait for you to ask the question. There's things that need to change.
Right.
Are you ready for me to talk about that?
Absolutely.
Here's what I believe
Microphone's yours.
from the bottom of my heart. There are a lot of people in this country illegally. They came here inappropriately. They're in violation of law. But they came here for the same reason that our forefathers came here a long time ago, to better their life for their children. There's a lot of people here illegally who get up and go to work. They work very hard every day. Their children are in school. On Sunday, they're primarily Catholic. You'll find them at Mass.
Yep.
And they're family oriented. Now you think about it. What's more American than somebody who works hard, loves their family, goes to church? You know, that's all American. So we need to look at those folks that are here. And by the way, overwhelmingly, they're doing work we don't want to do.
Right.
They're working in the strawberry fields and in the orange groves. They're building houses. They are roofing houses. They are working hard labor jobs, and they're doing a very good job. So what we need to do is we need to look at those folks and say, shame on you, you came in the country illegally. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a 5-year plan. You've not violated the law. You're not a criminal. You're a hardworking man and woman, taking care of your children, going to church. We're going to give you a 5-year plan. And during that 5 years, you sign up. We're going to sign you up. And you agree to deport without any further judicial due process if you fail to complete these 5 things in 5 years. And we do things like you can't be on state subsidies. You have to work. We're going to give you a work permit. We're going to give you've got to go to driving school or take a driving test to show that you can drive. We're going to give you a permit to drive for 5 years as long as you have your insurance and live within all the rules. And you do these 5 things, and then at the end of 5 years, you have to sign up for 5 more years of permission. During the second 5 years, you have to do the things necessary so that at the end of the 10th year, you're an American citizen and you're here legally and all the oversight is done. So if you don't do the first 5 years, you volunteered for deportation without further proceedings. We pick you up wherever you are with whoever else is illegal, and we deport you. But if you've done these things, then in 5 more years, you do these things and you're legal. And if you don't do the things in the second 5 years, then you have to go.
Right.
I believe clearly and unequivocally the overwhelming majority of these folks would do exactly what was required of them. We just have to create it by Congress and make it robust enough to handle the volume of people so they can't say, well, I've been standing in line waiting for this stuff, right, and the government hasn't made it where I could do it. That way, the good, hardworking people that aren't criminals, that are adding to the value of the United States.
That's the carrot and not the stick.
That's the carrot and not the stick. That's what we need to do, in my opinion. I think that my colleagues and I could sit down with the power players in Washington, D.C., and write this legislation in 30 days if they would pass it. And I'm frustrated because right now it is so caustic in Washington, D.C., one party or the other could come up with a cure for all cancer, right, and the other party would vote against it.
Yeah.
And that's got to stop.
Are there enough resources to process that many people allocated now, or are we going to have Congress allocate more resources to process these millions and millions of people?
Yeah, Congress would have to allocate more resources because if 10 million people showed up tomorrow to be processed, you
couldn't do it.
You can't handle them. And then you can't hold that against them if they're not getting there in their 5-year window. Because think about it. It's the due process system is not the same due process system as we have for the criminal justice system we're aware of. Due process for immigration is you go before a judge, they make a determination you're here illegally, and the judge rules you got to go. That's the Reader's Digest version of it. But the reality of it is we've got to get the criminals out of this country. We've got to get the hidden terrorists out of this country. We've got to get those during the 4 years where the floodgates were open, they brought a fentanyl in here and killed 250,000 people with fentanyl, with that horrible drug. We've got to stop that. So the president's building the wall and stopping the inflow was the first step.
Right.
The next step is let's find the good people that are here working, obeying the law, want their children and themselves to have a better quality of life, and figure it out so that they can stay. And then the criminals, we get them out of here, those that violate the law. I can't think of a better solution than that.
It's a very common sense solution. It would be nice if politics could be put aside a little bit in D.C. Are there folks on both sides that would agree with that, you think?
I believe so.
Or you think it's just leadership on both sides that are keeping people from keeping their members from coming together? I mean, I believe that.
No, I think there's a bipartisan interest in that from those with common sense. But the the political environment is so caustic right now, and that if you don't agree with them, you're the mortal enemy.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way that our forefathers intended that this country be run.
So if an illegal person marries an American citizen, that doesn't get them citizenship right then?
No, it complicates everything.
It does, okay.
But they are still illegally and still subject to deportation.
Okay.
And let me give you one other complication. A lady comes here illegally, and she has a child in this country. Now she says, I realize I'm here illegally, and you've caught me. Can I take my 3-year-old or my 2-year-old and go and be deported? Well, the 2 or 3-year-old is a U.S. citizen because of birthright. And the country that they're going to, that child's not a citizen there.
Right.
So it complicates us deporting her and the child, and we're not going to deport her without her child. We're not going to do that. But we've got to work through that process in the other country. So it is a very complicated mess.
Todd's podcast is sponsored in part by Saunders Real Estate, your trusted partner in land and commercial real estate since 1996. With over 125 expert advisors located throughout the Southeast United States, the full-service brokerage specializes in a wide range of property types from farms and ranches to commercial buildings and development land. If you're looking to build your legacy with a confident investment, please visit SaundersRealEstate.com or call 877-518-5263 to connect with an advisor today. How does a person prove they're an American citizen if they're stopped? And I mean, I haven't been stopped in a long time, but I've never been asked. But you know, do you ask everyone? I mean, I would assume people here that are citizens don't carry their immigration card, or maybe they do, or they don't carry a passport. How do you prove that you're here legally, or that you were born in Haines City or Winter Haven?
Absolutely. We ask everyone now,
Right.
where's your place of birth? And the easiest way is your driver's license. That driver's license now has a star on it.
Yes.
That means in order to get that driver's license, you have proven who you are and where you were born. So absent that, we'll ask you, do you have a driver's license? No. Do you have a birth certificate? No. Tell us what hospital you were born in. They don't. Those that are here illegally have zero
Ties to the community.
Yes. Zero identification. And some of the people here illegally show us their Mexican driver's license, which helps. But they have to prove to us that they're here legally. And what we find through our investigation is they simply are not here legally and can't prove that they are.
Nothing easy about this solution, nothing easy about this problem. It is complicated and it is overwhelming, I'm sure, for you and your deputies and for law enforcement everywhere. So a few weeks ago, I've had people say, "Man, there's cops everywhere. There's up and down 27. They're pulling everybody." Was that all coordinated because of ICE, or was that, hey, we're just running a regular, normal course of operation? And how is that? Does ICE coordinate these type of things?
Here's what occurred that people saw, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
The number one complaint that we receive at the sheriff's office is traffic. So periodically, we will have a traffic operation. We asked the Highway Patrol, do you want to join us on this traffic operation? And they did. There were a lot of troopers and a lot of deputies assigned to look out for speeding cars, reckless driving, careless driving, traffic violations. So that's what people saw. Was there immigrants that were here illegally that got caught up in that? Absolutely there were. But that's no different than operations. We'll have a hot spot in the county or where people are violating the law, and we'll saturate that area till we correct that hot spot. We'll do probation violation roundups.
Right.
We'll do drug sale roundups. So this was another operation that was here 2 days, and as a result, people who violated the law went to jail. People who were here illegally were picked up on their deportation orders, and then after that operation was cleared up, then we went back to our normal work. But there will be another operation,
Right.
whether it's rounding up probation violators, whether it's catching those that are speeding, or whether or not we're working hot spots that's problems in order to keep people safe. The system works. Crime's at an 18-year low here. Is at a 53-year low here. Yeah. 18 would be nice enough, but our crime's at a 53-year low. People have never been as safe or felt as safe as they do right now in unincorporated Polk County.
Okay, so let's go to open carry. That's new law. How are you and your deputies dealing with that? Again, it wasn't your policy, but you're having to enforce state law.
Sure. Do you notice how all of these hot topic things tumble down to the cops?
Yeah.
Everything
flows downhill, does it?
Everything flows downhill to us. I am a staunch, flag-waving believer in the Second Amendment. To me, you can't own too many guns or too many knives. And if you can legally possess a firearm, good for you. I am not a fan of open carry, but there's a reason for that. I want you to carry your firearm.
Right.
But I want you to carry it concealed. And we specifically were able to get the state of Florida to pass that law because that gives you a tactical advantage.
Correct.
If you ever have to use your firearm to defend yourself or someone else. If you're carrying your firearm open and the bad guy sees it, then you're the first target. And I'll give you an example. You're sitting in a restaurant with your firearm exposed in a holster, eating dinner. Guy comes in to rob the place. He looks around and he sees you, and by the way, your back's to the robber, and he walks up and either shoots you, takes your gun, or a combination of that, then he robs the store.
Right.
However, if you're sitting in that same chair, wearing that gun concealed, and the dude looks around, sees no guns, he goes to rob, then you can surprise him with your concealed firearm and take him into custody and or shoot him, whatever you have to do to protect yourself and the people of the store. That's why I like concealed firearm. The courts recently ruled that open carry is permissible. But even in those rules, they said there are some sensitive places that you can't carry a firearm. For example, a school. There's other legislation that says you can't carry it on school property. You can't carry it in a courthouse. But the edges of the law are a little ragged now because they plucked a piece of it out when they said the open carry is illegal, is now legal, but the law is illegal.
Right.
So the legislature really needs to go just crisp the borders up. Okay, tell us which government buildings exactly you can't carry it in. Tell us, okay, we know you can't carry it in the school. You can't carry it in the courthouse. You can't carry it into the state capitol. You can't carry it into the county. You know, just square it up. But I can tell you that we have seen very little evidence of people openly carrying.
I haven't seen any.
Right. And
unless they're
we've not received
undercover.
We've not received complaints like I thought we would. But there's still other laws. If you carry a firearm and you brandish it or carry it in a rude manner, you can still be arrested.
Right.
So what does that mean? Well, we don't know yet. But I suggest to you, if you're carrying a firearm in a holster, walking down the street, you're good to go. But if you're carrying a firearm in your hand down the street, waving it around, that's probably a rude manner, and you're going to be arrested.
Yeah. So the state needs to tighten up their laws.
They just need to define the exact parameters of it. And like I said, the world's not going to come to an end with open carry.
Correct.
Most people who have firearms are going to carry them in a respectful, responsible manner. And the few that don't, will deal with that.
Hey, podcasters, if you're looking to elevate your organization's leadership, strategy, and teamwork, please look no further than Two Blue Aces. Founded by a team of military senior officers with over 200 years of combined leadership experience, they deliver executive-level consulting, targeted seminars, keynote addresses, and customized business development strategies. Their one-on-one mentorship and strategic assessments are grounded in real-world decision-making under pressures and have helped companies transform succession planning, team performance, and executive vision. It's rare to access this level of insight outside the military, and I've seen firsthand the impact it can make. To learn more or to connect with their team, please visit twoblueaces.com or call 863-223-2554. Operation Fool Around and Find Out, human trafficking. I think you've been one of the leaders in trying to stop this. Are we making a dent in that? Is it just, hey, you get them off the street for a day or two and the repeat offenders are always there, or is there progress being made?
I really think we're making progress. Here's what we do. When we do these human trafficking operations, we are looking for the victims of human trafficking. That is the most difficult victim we deal with because, quite frankly, they fear their human trafficker or their pimp worse than they fear the system and law enforcement. But what we started, and I asked that we do this, is we embedded what we call our NGOs, our one child, groups, and all of our groups that counsel and help in the NGO world, victims of human trafficking. So when we're doing these operations, we immediately, upon them coming and being taken into custody, start screening them to see if they're a victim of human trafficking. Right. Florida law is great. If you truly are caught up as a victim in human trafficking and we catch you up in this net in our operation and we determine you're a victim of human trafficking, we don't charge you. And or if you're charged tonight because you deny it and our NGOs follow up and create for weeks, and we determine at a later date you're truly a victim, you admit it, you accept services, we come back, drop the charges, and wipe all the public record clean according to law in order to protect you. So the whole focus is that we are looking for victims of human trafficking. And guess what? We're finding a few more and a few more and a few more. But if it weren't for one more child and our different groups of counselors, we couldn't be successful. But I got to tell you a little story about that. When I first said that we're going to put the counselors, the touchy-feely people embedded with us in the operation, the hardcore cops thought it'd never work. They thought it would never work. And I said, wait and see the magic of these young ladies, because many of them have been a victim of human trafficking.
Right.
Now, after the first operation, it went well, and they said, okay, so he's right on this one. The second operation, it got a little better. Now, the folks in the law enforcement world that were really hesitant about this in the beginning, they are the ones that are first to call the NGOs,
right,
because they help us so much in dealing with the victims. Sometimes these prostitutes show up. They're not victims, but they got children there. DCF is embedded with us. So we get the child services. It has really made a remarkable difference. Now, at the same time, you are doing child predator operations for those online that are seeking to have sex with very young children, who are grooming children. And I think we're up to 18 arrests in this last operation of those evil, nasty people. So when I think about the young men and women in law enforcement that work these operations, I'm thankful, because we are catching really bad guys before they get to your children. We're also identifying and finding victims of human trafficking who many times are brought there by their human traffickers, and we're arresting the human traffickers at the scene. It's remarkable. And the police departments join us, the state agencies join us, the federal agencies join us, and that's why we're able to have a large, successful operation, is because we all work so well together.
It's got to be so emotional for your deputies, for your investigators, your detectives, to have to watch these things. How do they deal with that?
Yeah.
How do you help them deal with that?
That is the only assignment in the sheriff's office, that they can walk into their supervisor and say, I've had enough, I got to go. And they can control their transfer.
Good.
I mean, you can't come to work at the sheriff's office and we assign you to patrol and you walk in one day and say, I'm tired of this, I want to be a detective. You get to be a detective, or you get different assignments with approval of the supervision.
Right.
If you agree to work in the child victim world, or where you have to go in and look at child pornography all day long as a job, the day you can't stand it anymore, you control your ability to leave. Plus, we have mandatory mental health screenings. Good. For everybody who works in there. It is so traumatic for the people that work there. Some successfully do it. Some go there in the first week, say, let me out of here. And some do it for a period of time and finally look at their boss and say, boss man, I can't look at another one of these images. I got to get out.
There was a 16-year-old a little while ago that taunted you saying, hey, tell Grady to come find me. Did y'all find this person?
Oh, yeah. That was really great. He got on social media. There was warrants for his arrest. Oh, come find me, come find me. And I talk about my brothers and sisters in law enforcement, as it would be when he put this out and was bragging. A Lakeland police officer recognized him. And they
recognized the kid who put it out?
Recognized the kid and caught him up in the city. So I think my brother officer from LPD that actually got to him before we found him and turned him over to us. So it was pretty funny. We all had a good laugh out of that.
In the news, we're seeing more and more soft targets that are being attacked, churches primarily, but other soft targets, schools and everything. Are there strategic and tactical ways for these organizations to harden themselves? Is it just the luck of the draw?
The biggest issue that we have with that is denial.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen to me. We have sent letters to every house of faith in this county at least twice or three times offering free training. Some have taken advantage of that.
Right.
Some haven't. I can't understand why you would not accept the free training. And I hearken back to an active shooter way back in the day. If you're not safe in a one-room schoolhouse in Amish country,
right,
way out in the middle of no place. If there can be an active shooter there can be an active shooter any place.
Yeah.
And I think about that horrible day when that active shooter went in that little Amish one-room schoolhouse and annihilated all those children. That shakes our soul. So if you have, whether it's your house of worship or school, if you listen and we give you the ways to protect yourself, I tell folks, look, it shocks my soul that we've got to have guns in churches, that we have to have guns in schools. But if we have guns in churches and guns in schools by dedicated people that are very well trained, the chances of mass shootings reduce precipitously. But if we can't get to that shooter in the first 30 seconds, and that shooter's going to kill somebody in the first 30 seconds, but we've got to get to him in the first 30 seconds. If you dial 911 after the shooter's there, the average response time, if you get a great response time, is 4.5 minutes.
Right.
And dozens of people can be killed before the police can ever arrive. So what I explain to folks is, ideally, we don't want to intercept them at the church, at the school, at the business, and have a gunfight. The best thing that people can do is, if you see something or hear something, say something, because all of these shooters give off warnings in advance, and most people ignore it. They're in denial. The next thing you've got to do is you've got to have well-trained people at your house of worship,
right,
in your schools, more than one. One's better than none, two's better than one, three's better than two, four's better than three, that can rapidly go there with backup,
right,
and deal with the issue until law enforcement arrives. You've got to do that. But still, in this country today, Todd, today in this country, after all of these mass shootings, there are more schools that are not prepared for the next shooter. There are more police agencies that are not prepared for the mass shooter than are. And that haunts me. And because people are just in denial, it'll never happen here. And you know what? If you want to play the statistic game, the statistics are your church or your school will never be a victim of an active shooter. But tell me where the guy's going to pop up next.
Right.
I don't know. So we all have to be prepared.
A lot like wearing your seatbelt.
Absolutely.
Most people aren't in a wreck, but when you are, you darn sure need your seatbelt on.
I can't think of a better example. And to me, we can play statistics all day long. But my grandchildren, your children, our grandchildren, there's nothing more important in the world than them.
Right.
So we need to wear our seatbelt. We need to have well-trained people with guns. But in addition, and in front of all of that, needs to be, if you hear something or see something, say something. The guy that's going to be an active shooter, a mass shooter tomorrow, we can walk up and knock on his door tonight. He's prepped up for tomorrow, and you knock on his door tonight, we can stop it in advance.
Yeah. Hey everybody, this is your host, Todd Dantzler. As most of you know, I'm a partner with Saunders Real Estate and have been a very active and working broker for over 42 years. I have fostered strong relationships throughout the state of Florida, working on properties ranging from agriculture and development land to multifamily, commercial, and industrial projects. If you have any real estate needs at all, please give me a call. I'd love to help. My direct line is 863-877-2846. Thank you. You've been generous with your time, as you always are. I've asked some folks, some friends, hey, what are some questions you'd like for me to ask the sheriff if he comes in? And so I got a couple. Here's one from a little girl in Auburndale. Her name's Emily. She's a cute little booger. I guess she's about 4 or 5. But she said she heard you send out Christmas cards, and she's wondering, does the sheriff ever get Christmas cards back? And if so, does he get a lot, or does he get 1 or 2? Or
Well, Emily, I'm glad that you asked that question. And it's a good problem to have. I get hundreds.
Wow.
And I read every one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for them, and I appreciate it. So if you haven't sent me a Christmas card, send me one this year. I'll read it. I'm very thankful. I love Christmas. I love Christmas cards. I decorate my office with them. It's pretty cool. Thank you, Emily.
But, those are the people you protect also.
Yes.
So I think that you're saying that from your heart. Robin from Winter Haven wants to know, how do you recruit new deputies and new law enforcement officers, with all the shenanigans that was going on lately, and blue states saying, oh, our law enforcement's coming to Florida and everyone's recruiting. Are we having trouble getting law enforcement officers? I know our population is growing by leaps and bounds here in Polk County. Are you appropriately staffed? Are you still hiring every day?
Sure, we are hiring, but we only hire about 10 out of every 100 applicants. We have a lot of applicants,
Okay.
but some people want to be in law enforcement for the wrong reason. And some people show up. God is my witness. We had a guy show up about 2 weeks ago for his polygraph, driving on a suspended driver's license. Had outstanding warrants for him.
Did he want to be a patrolman?
Yes. So we took him to jail. He didn't get to take his polygraph, but he did get to go to jail. But we appreciate him driving up and meeting us because, it saved us time.
Yeah.
We had another person who wanted to get into law enforcement a while back and took the polygraph, and it says, well, you said here that you sell drugs. He says, yeah, but just as soon as I get a good, stable job like at the sheriff's office, I'm going to quit selling drugs. Well, dude, you just don't qualify. Now, as I laugh about those people, then I look at my friends in business and I say, but you're hiring them because y'all can't give a polygraph.
Right. Clay from Orlando said he wants to know, when you're finished with Polk County, will you come and clean up downtown Orlando? He's tired of getting mugged when he's trying to go to lunch in downtown Orlando.
Orlando could use some help, but, if you don't lock people up and you don't prosecute people who commit crime, then they commit more crime, and then the Me Too's kick in. So there is a problem over there, and you don't have to look any further than the state attorney that won't hold people accountable. The sheriff over there, John Mina, is a good friend of mine. The police officers in Orlando PD, the sheriff's office, they're arresting people. Just trying to get them prosecuted is very difficult.
So they need to work on their...
They need to consider, if they want to be safe, you got to change. We got the tools.
You got to prosecute them. You can arrest them. You got to do something with them.
But we got to have a good prosecutor that will say, we're not putting up with that.
Colton and Bartow wants to know about the charities that you support, not just your sheriff's charities, but you auction yourself off a number of times. Have you ever calculated how much money you've raised for all these charities? Because I know it's got to be 6 or 7 digits.
Yeah, Colton, thank you very much. We auction off days with the sheriff and lunch with the sheriff, and I've raised over $1 million for the different charities in Polk County. In addition to that, we have Polk Sheriff Charities, where we raise a lot of money through Jeeping with Judd and Busting Clays with Sheriff Grady Judd, and we give that and turn the vast majority of that back to the community, to those less fortunate or those that need help.
And that's your charity?
That's my charity.
Okay.
So, but when you spend a day with Sheriff Grady Judd or have lunch, that is like they auction me off at, say, a Rotary event.
Right.
And that money goes to the Rotary Club, their charity, or to SPCA. I love the SPCA. I work with them and help them raise money all the time. And it is so much fun to raise money and help the little cats and the little dogs along the way. So over $1 million we've raised.
That is phenomenal. And people can't underestimate the value that comes with raising $1 million and what the organizations do with that type of money and what good work they do. And I mean, that's an amazing thing.
Sure. Also Peace River. And we raise a lot of money for Peace River. The people are so generous. And also there's the Winter Haven Hospital Foundation. Yep. We raise tons of money for them as well.
Every year. What keeps you up at night?
Not much. I sleep well for about the first 4 or 5 hours. Then I'll wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning and I do my email overnight, stuff that's accumulated. Then I go back and I take me another nap and I get up. I've got great men and women.
Yes.
Our Board of County Commissioners has always been supportive of us and made sure that we had fair pay, great benefits, great training. So I think we're living in government utopia here because the Board of County Commissioners has made public safety their top priority. EMS, fire, sheriff's office, county jail, whatever we needed to keep the people safe, to serve them and to help them during their time of need, it's been provided. And all of that national junk you're watching that's happening all over the country is not happening here. And we don't let it happen here. They're not going to come here under this guise of protest and throw rocks and burn buildings. We'll kick their butt and put them in jail. But if you come here and want to protest, we'll make sure you get to protest. That's the foundation. The core of our government is to be able to protest. And we help protesters when they want to protest. But you're not going to come here and tear our stuff up. And it's the beauty of where we live and the community that supports us. That's why we can do all the things we do.
If you hadn't gone into law enforcement, what do you think you would be doing?
Do you know,
You've done it your whole adult life.
I'm a fanatic. My hobby is landscape and wildlife photography. I truly think I would have been a wildlife biographer, and I would have written, and then I would have been a biologist, and I would have practiced, and I probably would have been out west because those massive mountains and all of those wild animals, every place really impressed me. But I think I would write about animals. I would be a biologist. I really think it's something with the outdoors. I love being in the outdoors. I like being on the water, in the woods, in the Florida swamps, and I really like my landscape and wildlife photography. So I think I would have worked in that area.
I could see you having been a National Geographic photographer.
I would have loved that.
Just seeing the photos that you do take and the quality of them, and if you could figure out a way to get paid to do that, it would be a wonderful job too.
Can you imagine waking up every day and your job is to go out into the wild and discover something new to capture and photograph for the world to see? Those folks have a dream job.
Pretty cool. Do you want to discuss your video series, Morning Briefings with Sheriff Judd?
Oh, I love morning briefings. We started morning briefings when there's a transition with the media. So a lot of times the media said, "Would just send us a video clip if we can't get to a press conference." And there's a lot more things that people want to be aware of and need to be aware of. So I said, well, let's take the most dangerous criminals, the craziest criminals, the wildest stories, and I'll start morning briefing with a cup of coffee. And then I said, let's go around to the local businesses and advertise for them. I don't get paid. They're not doing anything but sending me a cup. Well, I got stacks of cups now. I mean, you send your cup in, you may see it in a year.
You're going to have one more when you leave this interview right now.
And you know what? Because you know somebody, I may even push yours to the top of the stack.
Well, you need to see the logo first before you buy it.
All right.
But I'll give you that out.
But it is so much fun, and we do between 15 and 20 million views on our social media every week.
That is amazing.
And the other day, Elon Musk picked us up, commented, and forwarded us, and 1 week, because of him, he gave us an extra 20 million. We did 45 million in a week.
That is amazing. Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you might have wanted to talk about? I mean, I had a few more questions, but you've been very gracious. We've been here an hour, and I told you I'd get you out in an hour. And
well, I think that's just about it. If we talked about everything, you wouldn't invite me back again. I would love to come do this again sometime.
I will invite you back whenever I can get Tina to get me on your schedule. I appreciate that. And
well, I appreciate you being my friend.
Yeah, you are my friend as well. And you're very gracious to come on Todd's podcast. You're always gracious with your time and energy. I know you're tired from time to time, but you always bring it when you're asked. Is there anything that we can help you and your team to help you all be more successful? I know everyone says, oh, just pray for us. Well, that's important. And I think we do need to pray for your safety and your steadfastness and, just the energy when you come onto the job, not just you, your whole team.
Absolutely. Well, I get a lot of the credit because I'm the face of the sheriff's office, but the young men and women of the sheriff's office, whether they're the deputies on the front line working in the jail or the support staff behind the scene, they take this job very serious of keeping people safe. So how the community can help us is the way they have helped us. Support us, pray for us, trust us. If you see a place that we have fallen short, because we're from the human race, none of us are perfect, we'll fix it. I tell folks, I can't run a perfect operation. I'll run the very best one that it's possible. But if we mess up, we'll fess up, dress up, and fix up. Right. So tell us, if you see something we can improve upon. But the most important thing, in addition to prayer, is if you see something or hear something, say something. Let us check it out. If there's nothing to it, it's no harm, no foul. But don't tell me tomorrow that you heard yesterday about the shooter that happened today. It's too late.
Yeah.
But our community is super awesome. So just keep working with us, and we'll keep crime at a 53-year low rate.
I appreciate that. To our listeners, thank you, Grady, for coming in and being so generous. Thank you for running such a professional organization. And people don't understand how professional the Polk County Sheriff's Office is under your direction and under your leadership, from everyone immediately underneath you all the way down to the most recent hire. And I've always told people that there's no loose ends with the Sheriff's Office. Again, it's not perfect. There are things that slip by, but you strive for perfection every day. You work hard for that. And I've been fortunate to see it up close and personal. And I do know it's a grind on you and your men and women at times. So we do need to keep you in our prayers, and law enforcement everywhere, not just here at the Sheriff's Department. And so I hope you folks, I hope you enjoyed our time with the Sheriff today, Sheriff Grady Judd from Polk County. I hope you'll stick around for our next episode, and I ask you to take care. We'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to Todd's podcast. This has been your host, Todd Dantzler. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to rate, review, follow, and subscribe to Todd's podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you have any questions for me, suggestions for future guests, or are interested in sponsorship opportunities for our podcast, please just fill out the contact form on my website, todddantzler.com. I look forward to hearing your questions and feedback, and please take care.